Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Dio Fathan, and today I will be presenting about a phonological phenomena which is in masculine rhymes and epenthesis. This presentation is conducted because this is for my project 2 in morpho-Phonology subject. So, and there is two part in this presentation. The part one is explaining about masculine rhymes and epenthesis and give the examples for each. And for the part two is about case studies, and there is two case studies and one read IPA pronunciations correctly. So we started. So what is masculine rhymes? So masculine rhyme usually found in the poetry and literatures. So the definition of masculine rhyme is a term used in prosody and literary criticism to describe a rhyme that occurs on the final stressed syllable of a word. It is the most common type of rhyme in English poetry. The first is monosyllabic, which is often involve one syllable words. For example, in words they and say. The second is polysyllabic. It can occur in multi-syllable words, provided the stress falls on the very last syllable. For example, the van and content falls on the very Sir 2013 defines masculine rhyme as ending on a stress syllable. This creates a sharp, forceful stop contrasting with the softer finish of feminine rhymes. Here are the examples of masculine rhymes. The first is confess and address. This type is polysyllabic because both words consist of two syllables, confess and address, since the natural emphasis fall heavily on the second final syllable. This creates a sharp, decisive rhyme often used to denote seriousness or formality in verse. The second is disdain and complain, polysyllabic. Although these words have two syllables, the rhyme is only on the final stress syllables. And the third is breadth and depth, monosyllabic. A classic pairing in English poetry, the rhymes relies on the short vowel a followed by the unvoiced fricative the. Because the words are short and end abruptly, the rhyme feels final and heavy. The fourth is stoned and boned. The type is monosyllabic. Both are single syllables with a long vowel sound o, followed by a nasal n. Despite the long vowel, the single syllable naturally makes the stress land firmly on the rhyme itself. And the fifth is dark and embark. It is a mix, monosyllabic rhyming with polysyllabic. Dark is a single stress syllable. Embark has two syllables. But the stress is on the second one, embark, because the rhyming sound arc carries the weight of the stress in both words. It counts as a perfect masculine rhymes. So that is for the masculine rhyme. We move to the epenthesis. So epenthesis is a phonological process in which an extra sound, either a vowel or a consonant, is added to a word to make it easier to pronounce. According to Trask in 1996, epenthesis is the insertion of a segment into a word, and it has two main types. The first is anaphthixis, which is adding a vowel. For example, athlete, adding a in between. And the second is acquiescent, adding a consonant. Example, hamster, adding a p sound. Hamster, hamster, hamster. And Crowley 1997 explains that epenthesis is a natural sound change that helps break up complex consonant classes in many languages. We move to the examples of epenthesis. The first is athlete. Type is vowel epenthesis. Speaker inserts a schwa sound between the and l to break the difficult consonant cluster. Athlete. 2. Hamster. Hamster. Consonant epenthesis. When transitioning from the nasal to the sibilant sh. The lips close for and then pop opened, naturally creating a faint p sound. And third is film. Vowel appendices. Common in certain dialect, example in Irish English. A vowel is inserted to separate the liquid and the nasal Next is prince, pronounced like prince. Type is consonant appendices. In words, prince, moving from the sound to s often creates a natural th sound. This happens because the tongue releases the before making the s. As a result, prince can sound like prince in normal speech. And the final is warmth, consonant appendices. When moving from the bilabial nasal lips closed to the interdental fricative tongue between teeth, the lip must open in the airflow stop before the lips fully separate and the tongue is in place. A voiceless bilabial stop p is produced, resulting in warmth. So that is the example of appendices. We move to the part 2, which is case study. There will be 2 case studies and reading words with IPA pronunciation in presentation. First, the case study A, entitled A Busy Morning at Riverside Learning Center, and 2 reading words with correct IPA pronunciation, and the third is the case study C, entitled Language Class on Friday Afternoon. So this is the story for the case study A Busy Morning at Riverside Learning Center. So, in the case study A, what to do? The first is find 3 words that contain assimilations, metathesis, and epithesis. So, for the assimilation happens when a sound in a word changes to become more like a sound in the following words, based on Rhodes in 1991. But I can identify only one assimilation in the story that fit Rhodes' definitions, which states that assimilation occurs when a neighboring sound influences the sound change. So common example of assimilations are, first, 10 boys becomes 10 boys because b is a bilabial, so the tongue moves to the lips and the sound follows, so it changes to the sound. 2. Input. If we speak faster, input become input. The n sounds to match the place articulation p, so the result is sounds becomes which both are now bilabial. And the third, in case, becomes in case because when we speak faster, in case nasal place assimilations, then sounds becomes sounds before k fella stop. And the last is good boy. If we speak faster, it becomes good boy. Both place and manner assimilations, because the becomes bilabial like b, and both are now voice stop produced at the same place of articulations. We move to the assimilation found in the story. So yeah, in the story, I just found a grandma from grandma. In the context is one boy wanted to say grandma, but excitedly said grandma, dropping the sound. So why is it assimilation? Because grandma is assimilation because the disappears due to the influence of the nasal sounds n and making the pronunciation easier and more similar to the surrounding sounds. So that is the assimilations in the story. Move to the metathesis. So metathesis is a phonological process in which the order of sounds in a word is switched or reversed. In other words, to sound change place to make pronunciation easier or more natural in speech. Example in word ask instead of ask. According to Mohammed in 2025, metathesis is a sound swap, or we call it sometimes slip of the tongue. So the first is ask from ask. This is based on the story. The context is little Marco walked around asking the teacher's question, but he always pronounced ask as ask, which made everyone smiles. What is it metathesis? The standard order is s followed by k, ask. In this example, sound swap position, so the k comes before the s x. This is a famous example of metathesis that actually mirrors the Old English from action. And the second is paschetti from spaghetti. Another child kept saying paschetti instead of spaghetti, which made the volunteers chuckle. This is the context. So why is it metathesis? The initial s and p sounds undergo reordering. Instead of s studying the word spa, the p takes the lead and the s follow later. It is a sound swap, typically in children's speech. So that is the metathesis. We move to epithesis based on Crystal in 2008 from the book A Dictionary of Linguistics and Phonetics. He defines epithesis as the addition of a sound at the end of the word. Epenthesis is adding in middle, but epithesis in the end of the words. He knows that it typically occurs for cases of articulations of that or dialect influence. So epithesis in the story, I find the two, which is film instead of film. The context is Miss Della explained a short film to the student, but she pronounced it as film. So this is epithesis because a new vowel is added at the end of the word to make the final consonant cluster easier to pronounce. Film. And the second is animal. Animal instead of animal. Some students imitate a playful saying animal instead of animal, causing laughter in the room. That is the context. So why it is epithesis? Because a vowel-like sound appears at the end of the word. This is epithesis, since a new sound is added after the final consonant. So yeah, that is for the case 1. To the part B, which is phonetic transcription, IPA. Read the following 20 items aloud using correct IPA pronunciations. So comfortable, comfortable, probable, probable, accommodate, accommodate, massive, massive, governor, governor, texture, texture, athlete, athlete, experience, experience, gladiator, gladiator, happening, happening, generation, generation, moderate, moderate, service, service, intensity, intensity, category, category, intricate, intricate, department, department, gratitude, gratitude, ethical, ethical, spontaneous, spontaneous. So yeah, that is for the part B. Yeah, we know in the case study C, it is the same about story in language class on Friday afternoon. This is the story. For the case study C, what to do? So, explaining the 3 stress-preserving suffixes and stress-attracting suffixes and stress-shifting suffixes. So yeah, for the stress-preserving suffixes in the story. So before we begin, according to Peter Rhodes in 2009, in English Phonetic and Phonology, stress-preserving suffixes are suffixes that do not change the stress pattern of the base word. The primary stress of the original word remains in the same positions after the suffix is added. So there are three. And the word hopeful. The base is hope, and the derived stress is hopeful. The stress remains on the first syllable. The base word hope, the suffix full doesn't change where the stress falls. Same with the word careless, with the base care and the derived careless. Also in the dark, in the darkness. So the stress remains still in the first syllable. They do not change the stress. So that is for the stress-preserving suffixes. So we move to the stress-attracting suffixes. So based on Gigris in 1992 in English Phonology and Introductions states that stress-attracting suffixes shift stress to themselves or the immediately preceding syllable, overriding the base form's original pattern. In the words education, the base stress is educate, but in the derived stress becomes education, education. So the stress moves to the syllable immediately before the suffix tion. The stress shifts from the third syllable to remains on ka, the syllable before tion. And the word musician, the best stress in music, but in the derived stress, the stress changed to musician, musician. The stress moves to the syllable immediately before the suffix ian. The stress shifts from the first syllable mu to the second syllable si right before ian. So yeah, the last one is geology, from geo plus log plus y. The best stress is various. So the derived stress is geology, geology. So the stress moves to the syllable immediately before the suffix y. The stress falls on o, the syllable before y, following the stress attracting pattern. We move to the stress shifting suffixes. Lieberman and Prince in 1977 explained that stress shifting suffixes move the main stress to a different syllable, changing the word's rhythm. So there are three stress shifting suffixes in the story. The first is democratic, based from democracy plus suffix ig. The best stress is democracy, democracy. And the derived stress is democratic, 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 democratic. The suffix ig forces the stress to move. It shifts the emphasis from ma in democracy to kra in democratic. The second is economic, base for economy plus suffix ig. Best stress, economy, economy. The derived stress, economic, economic, economic. The stress shifts from the second syllable, ka, to the third syllable, no. The suffix ig moves the stress to a completely different position in the word. And the third is photographic, best photograph plus suffix ig. Photograph, the best stress, photograph. The derived stress, photographic, photographic, photographic. The stress dramatically shifts from the first syllable, ph, to the third syllable, gra. The suffix ig causes a major change in stress placement, moving it from the beginning to the end. Yeah, that is the end of the presentation. Here are the references that I used in this presentation to give an explanation to you guys. So that is the end of the presentation, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening until the end. I hope you guys understand what I've been talking about. So thank you so much. Bye.